Dr. Pear, in case you don't know me. And I come to you today from my wife's outdoor studio. It's very nice out here. This is where she does all her painting. And I'm here today to read an excerpt from Silas, the book that I released in June of this year. So I do have samples up on theriftOnline.com of the first chapter, so I'm going to steer away from reading that today. What I am going to read is I'll read a section from the middle of the book to kind of get a feel of what's going on. And to set it up, Ken Lowry, who's the main character, has suffered a heart attack at a very young age. And he's very disappointed in his life, and his wife has brought home Silas, who's the black lab, who is the crux of the story. And so this is him returning home from the hospital, and how one of the ways that he and Silas continue to bond. Silas stared at me from just outside the room. His head was cocked as if trying to match mine. It was the first time I'd seen him in 4 days. Wendy left him in our neighbor's care while I was away, and I couldn't help but think he looked bigger than the last time I saw him. It wasn't a huge difference, but I still noticed. His brilliant green eyes seemed slightly darker, though they still shone like headlights when reflected off the light of my desk lamp. I stared at him for a while, expecting him to break into his frenetic jump, catch, chase, wrestle, bite routine. But he didn't. He didn't even pant. He simply sat there, tail of stone, and gawked. "It's good to see you," I said. His head tilted to the other side. "You miss me?" He stretched his legs out in front of him. I chuckled. "You just gonna sit there, you stupid mutt? Get over here." As if released from suspended animation by my words, Silas snapped into action. He bounded across the carpet, his long red tongue uncoiling from his jaws between yips. He rose up on his rear legs and placed his paws on the bed. I rubbed my palm over the thick black fur on the top of his head. An illusion of a grin appeared at the creases of his mouth. The way he looked in that moment was amazing, almost human. He barked, and that fantasy vanished. "What's the matter?" I asked. "You want to come up?" He barked again. I scrunched my forehead and thought it over. Wendy had already set the ground rules. Silas could be in the bedroom, but not in the bed. He had his downstairs crate, she'd said, and if we started letting him sleep with us, he'd never stop. "Sorry, buddy," I said, tugging on his ear. "No go. Mom's rules." He yipped again and licked my hand. There was something about his mannerisms, the way his body shook when he wagged his tail and his lower maw tucked between his canines, which melted my heart. Ah, hell, she'll forgive me, I thought. It'll make her happy to see us bonding, and I did have a heart attack after all. How mad could she be? "Okay then, little bastard, come up," I said. I lifted him onto the bed. It amazed me how much he weighed, small as he was. I set him down on my stomach and allowed him to begin his routine of prancing around like a Super Ball. It knocked the wind out of me a little, and every once in a while he'd step this close to the family jewels, but I happily dealt with any discomfort. It seemed that being around his carefree spirit lifted my own. He rolled onto his back and writhed, staring at me the whole time. His upper lip sagged, revealing his tiny, sharp teeth. His tongue flopped over his nose. The scene was quite comical, and I laughed. It started as a deep, hearty chuckle, and then Silas twisted from side to side, looking like he was trying to imitate a Playgirl model, exposed nutsack and all. I let out a mad cackle, something I hadn't done in a very long time. I ended up paying for it, too. The stressed and vulnerable organ beneath my ribcage skipped a beat. My laughter stopped and I froze. My chest seized, my breathing grew tense. Shit, 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 ran through my head. Silas stopped his gyrating. He flipped to his feet and leaned into me, pressing his body against my breastbone. I felt his heartbeat, calm, vibrant, constant, and it seemed to ease my own. Gradually, the fear tapered off and my heart began to beat normally again. My breath came easily, and never did Silas look away from me. His eyes were hypnotic as they stared into mine, both in their beauty and concern. When I'd finally regained my bearing, the dog, our dog, placed one of his floppy ears to my chest, looking like a Cherokee listening for the vibrations of an approaching herd of buffalo. I sighed and patted his side, relieved. "I think it's over, boy," I said. "Crisis averted." He drew up his hind legs and draped one paw over the arm petting him. His eyes closed and he breathed in shallow bursts. Every so often a snort would escape his nostrils, coating the crook of my elbow with snotty mist. I didn't care. Merely having him laying on me was comforting, so much so that I clicked off the television and closed my eyes. The image of what we must have looked like flashed through my mind, contented and secure, easing back after a long day's work. As I started to drift off into sleep, one thought repeated over and over in my mind, a statement that rang true no matter how silly the concept seemed. That asinine little mutt had just saved my life. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed what you heard, and remember to head to Amazon, look up Robert Dupere and Silas, and yeah, or you can check out my other books, the Rift series, The Fall, Dead of Winter. Thank you very much for listening. Talk soon. Bye-bye.